That one kid. This shit gonna be recorded.
Grab that shit, nigga. Grab it.
All right. So, for the debate, everyone else for the debate. My stance is pro-choice. Deadboy stance is pro-circumstance. I mean, no, pro-sentience. My bad.
Hey, look at him already, nigga.
What you say?
Already, all the
Can we let them go? Can we let them go?
man, look, man, nigga trying to sit here and set shit for the recording and fuck with the other shit, nigga.
All right, good. Well,
Hey,
I just
hey, I'm gonna just turn it down. I'm pro-sentience. I think this gains more value when consciousness and consciousness is involved. That's my basic open statement. You can get your shit, bro.
okay. Well, my opening statement is I think that I'm pro-choice because I feel like there's more moral value on humans and their experiences. I feel like in the end of the day, aborting the fetus not only could save the mother's human experience, so many different values, many different venues, but also the fetus that eventually grows up could feel a lot of pain and can be in a negative circumstance, especially given that there's typically negative circumstances involving the mother. So we should value that more.
Okay.
So,
argument, bro.
who do you want to go first?
So basically, I just think consciousness gives a person. Do you understand what the concept of personhood is when I say that word or no?
No.
Basically, how I refer to personhood as, and let me get brought up like I'm just pulling this from like my ass, but this is the status of being a person, like a firm moral, social standing, with rights and responsibilities, stuff like that. So basically, that's why I feel like having a personhood gives you the ability to have individuality and shit like that. Also, and to formulate experiences, regardless if it's good or bad experiences, it's just the ability to be able to interact with the world around you and have some type of standing on reality. That's what I feel like personhood is, and that's what I feel like when people like it's what I know so much of you gaining consciousness and subconsciousness gains you. So after that, you have some type of value. And I wouldn't just murder things or kill or unalive things that have more value.
Okay, so I get what you mean, but would you not understand that what's it called? When more than one person's moral value is being compromised in the alternative situation, right? Which obviously personhood and moral value is to be considered, but at the same time, when you should also consider the extent of their consciousness. So if consciousness is what bases moral value, and in this case, we can have more than one person's more developed consciousness being on the line. Should that moral value not be accepted more than to just abort?
But why does the quantification of you having more automatically outvalue you the person that has less? So basically, using that same logic, a baby's moral value wouldn't be as much as a 25-year-old man, but I know in reality, if they were to just kill a baby, he would be looked at way worse than him just killing a 25-year-old man. So this argument right now you're trying to assert is just retarded. Just because things, first of all, that's subjective in general for you to even think that something has more values because it's been a lot longer. I'm not sure why that became some type of justifier to explain why all the things valued in this thing. So I just disagree with that off the rip, and I don't fuck with that. Now, did you hear me? Hey, Westbound, what didn't you hear?
Westbound, did you hear all that?
The last part of your comparison, with the 21-year-old man and stuff.
Okay, yes. Yeah, so basically, that's what I was saying is that the same argument can be aligned, and the pretense and logic of it doesn't change. We compare another thing that's been alive for a long period of time. It's a 25-year-old man or a baby. But obviously, if you murder a 25-year-old man or if you murder a baby, you would be looked at way worse as murdering a baby. Also, you know it's some type of subjective thing that you think that being alive longer gives you some type of more value because that's just not supported within as a community or anything like that. I don't agree with the notation that you tried to say. That's what I'm saying.
The problem is,
do you disagree with that? Do you disagree with that analogy? Analogy wrong?
I do, and let me explain why. So for the first part, right, I do think that the amount of consciousness should be quantified because, for example, we eat meat and kill animals, right, without any problem, even though they have consciousness. So obviously, we care about the certain level of awareness they have to things like pain and not that we and like their ability to experience the world and interact with the world, right? And the analogy also doesn't really fail. I mean, it also fails. My bad, that's going to speak because of the fact that there's a big difference between what's it called, a fetus and a baby, because a baby is just as conscious, or there's no like clear distinction in consciousness between a baby and a grown man, right? They're both fully conscious about the world, even if the grown man can formulate more intelligent responses and shit like that, right? So that I don't have that analogy. I don't think a fetus applies to that because a fetus just what's it called doesn't actually show or demonstrate the consciousness and the ability to feel pain and react to things as what's it called.
You're just incorrect. You're just incorrect. Fetuses feel pain. You're just incorrect. Prove that. Prove that fetuses don't do that. Prove that. Prove that for a fact. You're dumb.
Wait, no, that's
Wait. Prove that. Prove that fetuses don't feel pain. Are aware. Prove that. Please prove that. Prove that.
I never claimed those, and those
That's
would be your.
That's directly what you just claimed. You
No, I just
said.
heard-
Hold on. That's directly what you just claimed. You said the reason why is got tracked. You said the reason why you think it's disanalogous is that you feel like the states between a fetus and a baby is different. A state because you feel like the baby is on the same level of consciousness and it's fully. I don't even know what these arbitrary terms. What is the term fully conscious when a baby is not fully conscious? I hope you know that. Literally, a baby is not fully conscious. I don't know what you mean by fully conscious.
You're lagging, Deadboy. You're
Okay.
lagging. You're lagging.
I'm not done. Cut me off. Hey,
Yo, that boy, like when you're quieter, you lag less. Like I'm so serious, bro.
I start getting a little irritated because you know what I'm saying.
You understand you, bro. Go on, bro. Go on.
Yeah.
Shut up, bro.
What did I cut it?
Higher consciousness, and feeling.
Is your name Westbound?
Oh, my fault. I'm out of bitch. My bad.
What did you cut it?
Higher consciousness.
Yeah.
You said I said you dumb bitch.
So your argument was that you were saying that a fetus and that a baby has a higher consciousness than a fetus, and then you try to compare a baby's consciousness to a grown man by arguing that a baby is fully conscious, which I think is just an arbitrary term. I do not know what the term fully conscious means. But the separator that you gave, the distinction with the ability to be aware of certain things and feel pain is directly what you said. Those certain things is what you're implying that fetus has the ability to do, which you have to prove. I'm letting you know you're not going to prove that. Anyways,
So let me get on to my response.
I wasn't done with that.
If you're not done, my bad then. Go.
I mean, did you feel like I was shotgun you? That's what I'm saying. If you feel like that's what you're supposed to, you know to respond to it.
Okay, then okay. So first off, I only claim that babies are more conscious than fetuses are. I find that they have a certain level of consciousness. However, right, the problem is when it comes to like pain and shit, is that we can at least assert shit like babies feeling pain. But I'd like to ask for proof that babies can even feel pain in the first fucking place, right? And also at the same time, when I said about like the consciousness comparing to like consciousness of babies to grown men, I'm saying that we don't have like obviously babies are less intelligent, for example, than grown men, but we have no reason to believe that babies aren't as like consciously aware of the world and is able to interact with the world emotionally and shit and like feel pain as like sophisticatedly as a grown man, right? So in that case, the moral value of like consciousness and the emotions and how they're able to experience shit, right? We can't really say that like, oh, a grown man. There's no reason to believe that a grown man's like brain in that sense is developed more. But we don't have any reason to believe that a fetus's brain is developed in that sense. So, for example, even if they do feel pain, right, which I'm asking for proof for, even if they do feel pain, that's going to be to the same extent, for example, as a baby.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. So I'm not sure if you know like how anatomy works, but our conscious and we're subconscious of certain things comes from a certain part of the brain. Do you understand that?
What did you say?
I'll repeat one more time for you. Before I get to respond to everything else, do you understand that consciousness and subconsciousness is from and form a certain part of the brain? Do you understand that, correct?
Consciousness and subconsciousness are formed in a certain part of the brain.
Yes. Do you understand that? Like, do you understand that at all?
I'm assuming you're correct, yeah.
Okay. I'm just glad you understand that consciousness and subconsciousness is formed from the brain. Literally. I want to respond to everything across the course, so I'll put it off to later. You keep saying, again, I'm writing it down, you made that assertion that they just have more consciousness than the fetus. But what is the interlocker between the two to get the distinction of that it does? That's what I keep asking. That's what you started off with by just saying, oh, it's still, there's no way it has more. The question is, what is the interlocker, what is the separator that says that they have more, or what is the difference that makes them have more? And you said babies feel pain as sophisticated as a grown man. That's just incorrect. That is factually incorrect. Babies cannot feel emotional pain. So grown men, they can have experiences with people, have friendships and lose a friend, and they can feel emotional pain, sit back and cry about emotional pain. We know that babies don't do that because of the ability of the experiences they not have formed yet. So no, they cannot feel it at all as sophisticated as them. What I will grant is that babies can feel physical pain. That's correct. I can agree to that. But how we got here, how the even question is, you made the claim and you asserted earlier that fetuses lack a certain trait that these babies have, and I keep asking you, well, why is it even an assumption? Because the argument you're basically saying is implicit of the fact that these two things are different. You keep asserting that this is different and this is the same. But what is the proof for you to say that? You try to make me prove something I didn't even claim yet. Was, well, yeah, you prove that they do. When you're the one that made the assertion, you're the one that made the claim that automatically is. So I'm trying to understand, how did you get from that to that? Like, what is, well, I don't understand it at all.
Right, 1 second. I'm gonna say you're done, by the way, Ray, because I can respond to what you said.
Good.
Oh, all right. So for first, okay, you claimed why are babies more conscious than fetuses? Well, here's like an AI overview with some sources. They actually believe this. So we have more.
I'm just reading. I'll just read it. I'll just read it. I'll just read it out loud. Fetuses are really not as aware of the world as babies, as they spend their time sleep and are heavily sedated by chemicals, while they possess basic sensory abilities like hearing sound, feeling touch, acting the light. Well, that's completely fine. But, I mean, they may not be one-to-one. It may not be one-to-one. My argument is that babies and adults aren't one-to-one either. But I think the fact that they're able to feel these certain experiences is the thing. You don't have to separate. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't have to separate. What you try to give was pain. The fetuses can feel pain. That's what I'm trying to say. So to what extent are we going to say this thing is mature or we're at a level where we can respect it? That's what I'm trying to understand. That's what I was saying. Where's the level at where you're trying to say, okay, I can respect a certain value, but it has what trait? I'm looking at a certain trait. Okay, that's what I'm asking you.
Okay, I get it. So the problem is that you claimed in the first place that babies should be held to the same level of fetuses, right? Comparing with the analogy of killing a baby versus killing a grown.
The reason I say that is because it has consciousness. That's the reason I feel like it's all regardless of what the ability or quantity that they're able to experience it, they still have this trait. That's regardless. I don't give a fuck about the quantity. I've already established that earlier. I don't give a fuck if this person can experience this thing more. That doesn't change the fact that this person can still experience pain. It doesn't change anything. Not everyone's pain is the same. Not everyone's pain is the same, but it doesn't mean you should go through it.
All right,
it's retarded.
Okay. What's this guy saying? The problem is, right, as I said, right, if we're going to value consciousness, right, and that's also what the animal analogy I brought up earlier, we're obviously going to have to also consider the extent of it. If we know that babies are more conscious than fetuses, and we can't even prove that fetuses have these actual fucking things, like pain, for example, we shouldn't assume it, we should consider it.
Why can't you prove that? Prove that. That's what I should prove. Prove that fetuses can't feel
Your
pain.
burden. That's I asked you to prove that.
All right, okay. There's no way that you asked me because I never claimed that. And that was never much implied that, and you got to do that, but you asserted it, and then actually prove it.
I
just said
I want to clarify to the judge. I never said definitively. I said, hold up. I said, and even if I did, it was a misspeak. I said we can't prove it, right? We have no reason to believe that, and if we can't assert that, we're just going to add assumptions on how fetuses work that we shouldn't. Okay, maybe even if that was
that's not how you word it. Lucas, I don't agree with you. Fundamentally cheated when you say that, right? First, what you're saying now, it is different. The word that is a fundamental difference to what you're saying now. It's a difference. Edge. It would be a complete hedge.
Okay, why? Even if we presuppose, wait. Even if we presuppose, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Even if we assume that, why does it matter? Why does it matter if I'm not? Wait, actually, no. I didn't hedge on my position. I don't think you can prove that just because I said one thing. And I was
wait. Can you hold on? Can you guys get moderation? Hold on. Like, if it was just normal talking over, like, I wouldn't mind. But bro, like, Deadboy is lagging and being loud, and Lucas is being like Lucas. So I need y'all, bro. Like, please get some moderation so I can hear you guys better. Like, if you want immediate judgment.
Okay, listen. Deadboy, just let me
finish. Talking stick, bro?
Because this is my response.
No, don't do that. We only got go ahead, bro.
Just moderation. If one of you guys cut each other off, like, more, please, just relax.
The biggest we got understand each other. Like, we're not gonna be from head, Lucas.
Okay, so I'm saying, okay, my point is, what's it called? That in the end of the day, if I almost like sidetracked. In the end of the day, even if I said, right, that we know for a fact that fetuses can't feel pain, right? Even if I misspoke, which I don't believe I did, it's not a hedge because I'm not actually like purposely trying to change my position. I always had this position in mind, but maybe I misled you by accidentally speaking. My position, right, is that we have no reason to believe that these guys can feel pain, so to like assume that they can would be giving more assumptions on how fetuses work, which obviously wouldn't be the most simplest interpretation that we should accept, right? And obviously that's why I'm asking you. I also asked you before for proof that fetuses can feel pain. And to go the rest of the shit you said, because there's obviously a lot that you said that I didn't respond to yet. I said that they can like babies can still feel what's it called? Like they can feel because they can't like for example make friendship connections and shit like that. They cannot have the right thank you to that person in chat by the way. But they cannot feel like the same like for example they might not get friendship, right? But for something that corresponds like for example like if the mommy takes away milk, right? They can feel just as much sadness for that as you could if somebody like close to you had to leave you, for example, right? It's just that the priorities are obviously they're not going to be able to like function with the same priorities because, for example, they don't care about friendship, right? But if they care about I don't know maybe not being able to suckle on a titty, right? Then they can just as much pain from that as someone can from having their friend leave. So also, for example, if we can't verify it, yeah, the problem is that like all I'm saying is that we have higher priors for babies' consciousness, right? In this case, we have higher priors for the fetus's consciousness when they are born and when they grow up to understand that they could feel pain and all this shit that we should consider, as well as after the mother, which is also quantitatively better. And it goes back to what I said that we do have to consider as people, right? The quality, not just quantity, but also the quality, because that's why, for example, we eat animals because they have a certain degree of consciousness, right? But we don't care because it's not to the same extent as that of humans. So Yes, I'm done.
respond to the
Lucas, can you repeat what you just said? Wait, Lucas, can you repeat what you just said?
What part?
Last part, very last part.
I'm just saying that, for example, with animals, that's why with animals we consider the quality of their consciousness. Hence why we eat them, because they're not on the same level of humans.
All right. Anyway, Deadboy, go.
Yeah. So the obvious reason why I think animals are a different factor is I just think animals are biologically different. I don't care about animals. I don't care about the consciousness of animals. I really don't care. It's art isn't about animals. I value the consciousness, subconscious of a human life, of a potential human life. I don't give a fuck about fucking, you know, moose, lions, anything like that. This is it's completely different. They don't even carry or go through the same process as a human does. I just don't give a fuck. That's just completely irrelevant about the animal shit. It just has no relative bearing here. I'm speaking upon human species. A awesome argument based upon human species. I don't care. My reasons for not caring about animals is a biological difference thing. I don't give a fuck about it. It's not human. I just don't think it. As I was saying, after that, the argument that you're trying to say that it's just enough sadness as it would be of them losing a friend to not getting milk, that's a claim that's impossible to prove. And that you claim that they can feel just as much pain. There's no way for you to prove that. I'm going to ask for proof that they can feel just as much pain for those two separate actions. But to put into question for the fetus things about the harm for fetus, you can harm fetus a lot by drinking, by smoking, that harms the development of the fetus. Even though you're dumb and you're stupid, you probably never even have a girlfriend, so you probably don't understand. But your pain perception starts as early as 15 to 20 weeks. Our whole argument earlier is that it's regardless of the fact of who's feeling more pain, who's feeling pain or not. My argument is about the idea, the concept of feeling pain in general. I'm not going to put no one's pain above the other person. That's why the argument doesn't matter, because I kind of said the same thing earlier. It's just the fact of the ability to feel pain. Regardless, people have varying degrees of what they go through, but it doesn't change the fact that there's still an action of pain going through it, no matter who's struggling going through what. Regardless, I would feel bad that a mother is smoking and harming and drinking and harming her fetus. I'd feel bad if a homeless if he lost his friend. I'd feel bad if a baby dies. It doesn't matter. I don't care about the varying degrees. There's different crimes that have varying degrees of people getting done bad. Some people get raped, some people get kidnapped. Okay, regardless of not, it's still bad action. It doesn't change the fact. It's the fact that it's happening in general, and that will have the ability to have it occur in general is what I give it respect to. So I'm not trying to value anything like kind of get some type of higher value just because they can experience something more. Because again, that same argument, it's just getting tired of that for a baby. I'm not. Well, how do you feel?
Yo, he's cutting out.
Regardless of how you feel, grown people experience more things than a baby can. They're literally more aware. Your frontal cortex is expanding. It's fully developed at 25. That's you're fully understanding. You're fully grown up. So yes, you're going to experience certain emotions and feelings a baby possibly couldn't get. And it doesn't matter if it's varying more or not. The argument is that they could just experience it in general. That's why I leave it as equal. But your type of qualitative argument literally works the same way. It's a fetus. It's a fetus. It's a baby. It just doesn't matter, bro. Again, I should just prove you said what you said earlier about all the shit that you asserted earlier. And I'll say, even though I don't have to prove it and I explain why it's an edge, I'll shit of them being able to feel pain and shit like that. It's pretty obvious. I know you wouldn't know. You're saying like it's like a study or something. Niggas just don't know. Oh, prove that these niggas can feel pain.
All right. What's it called? All right. For that.
Look at that. It's in it.
Okay, so one sec. So to start, right, it's gonna be a long response because you said a lot. First off, yeah, animals are biologically different, but the problem is that you're valuing the idea of consciousness, right? Over like you're valuing the idea of consciousness here. The point is that these people also possess the idea of consciousness. I mean, these animals also possess consciousness, right? So it makes sense for us to discredit that under your view, unless we also value the
Yo, whose
quality
Samsung is that, bro?
unless we would also value the quality of consciousness because it's the only other like what's it called separator. It's the reason why we don't care about animals because the quality of their consciousness is what's also like the problem. So that whole thing. Second of all, you can't like prove they would what's it called feel the same level of pain. You also can't what's it called prove that the fetuses actually feel pain from being like when like the mother like drinks and shit like that. This I don't like that can harm their development when they get born, but that's different than what's it called them actually feeling pain. It's a problem. Also, Peter, you said like the pain in the fetus begins like 10 to 20 weeks. I'd like you to prove that as well. Intuitively as well, you brought up intuition. However, most people that you can like verify are pro-choice, if anything. So intuitions from people and mothers do like value the what's it called the mother's own decision more so. Also, the thing you sent here, the little like scan you sent here doesn't even say anything. It says, if anything, okay, it's unlikely before the third trimester, which doesn't even mean that it's likely after the third trimester. And it just says that like, oh, there's potential that babies might feel pain, but we still can't assert it. It just means it's not impossible. So that still like fails on person when you assume like all this shit about a fetus that we can't say.
You done?
One sec. Yeah, but like also that like what's it called? I mean that goes to just the fact on the animal shit too some more. Like what's it called? Why would we care about humans' biology more than animals when it comes to you're saying that being a human is what's going to matter. Why? In the end of the day, the only thing that's relevant will be the level of fucking what's it called consciousness. Humans can grow into having more fucking consciousness and more like quality of consciousness than an animal, which is still going to play to my point why we should value the higher consciousness of the born baby and the mother, like I said earlier.
Lucas and horrible.
I'm looking at the debate. I was but the reason why I laid that out earlier, why I think bringing up animals are just relevant to my opinions is the idea of what I laid out of what how we get our consciousness.
Wait, can you like I can't hear you. You're cutting out like a lot.
Hello,
Yeah.
you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the reason why bringing up animals is completely irrelevant in the situation here, because I already outlined earlier that we formulate our subconsciousness and consciousness through certain parts of the brain. So the argument is only from the jump, arguments have been only interpreted and even based off of the human brain, how the human brain forms. That's the first thing I outlined to you. That's why I said what I said earlier, because I knew you were going to go to this. So, is that human consciousness is based on our brain biologically. Animal brain isn't even complex. It doesn't have biologically. It does not have the parts that we have, regardless of the size of the parts. It doesn't have the stuff that we have. That's what I was saying this whole time. I'm disagreeing biologically from how it's formed, biologically from how it's formed, and how we experience things. I give that value. I do not care about an animal because regardless, it is just a less complex biological being. That's the basis. Less complex biological beings. Or they have
Okay.
they don't have the human brains. An argument, and you keep bringing up in response about the arguments, about the levels of pain. Again, I don't care about the levels of pain. I don't know why you don't understand that. The levels of pain does not matter. The level of pain does not matter at all. It's just the ability to not even, I don't know why we only just use reference to pain. It's the ability to have experiences in general as a whole. That's all the argument is. I don't know why you keep trying to quantify the levels. I already explained earlier, could you assert that this thing have a higher moral value? Like, why? Just because it's more. Like why? That you believe that. I don't understand. It's going to be universally true. Like, I don't understand that at all. It's not about the level of pain. It's just the fact that they feel pain in general. Because even so, as humans interpret pain. Not everyone interprets pain the same way. We all have different pain receptors. So it wouldn't matter. Would you feel less bad if something happens to someone if they can feel it? It's the act that happens in general. I don't care about the level of pain. It's not like an argument. I don't know why you keep bringing it. The way you're bringing it up too is not even like in use to refute or rebuttal anything I'm saying. You're just bringing that possibility up when it's just irrelevant. You can just look up. We think we can get fine straight to the fact and do it. Regardless of the fact that I don't know why we don't use it again. The base pain, the main thing I'm worried about is just experiences in general. So again, you're only locked in trying to respond to one thing, but you're just confuzzled about the whole thing. Do you want me to? I just don't understand. Bro.
I mean, I'll just say one more thing because there's a little bit. I mean, I don't have much to say, right? But there's just one more thing that I want to say. Okay, for now at least. For one, like I do think that what you were saying about the animals is an indirect concession because so we are agreeing that because the human's brain is more complex, right? They have more structures to make their brain more complex, to make a more complex consciousness, right? We value that over animals. That's what I'm saying is the difference between a fetus and like a baby and the mother's brain. Second of all, about the pain, obviously a baby might not be able to experience as much. I'm just saying that we have no reason to believe that the level of pain is going to be different in their more limited experiences that they can have. But obviously, for example, even as you like said earlier, we're not going to value killing a 25-year-old man over killing a baby because man can like make more friendships and shit. So like third of all, right? And actually that's really all I have to say. I think we can.
So, yeah. Just a quick response to that thing you brought up about why you say it's an indirect concession. Before you move on, it wouldn't be indirect concession because the purpose of it has said biologically. So biologically, it's human. The dog arguments based on biology.
I can't hear you.
The reason I'm about to respond to why it's not a concession is the parameters I said is biologically. So if that's the parameters that I'm using, then it wouldn't matter. It would be considered a concession because it's all biologically still the same thing. I'm laying out these biological differences. That's all I'm talking about. The biological differences. And obviously, you wouldn't argue the biology of the human being is the human being, bro.
Okay, hold on. You guys have been going circular for the last 3 points. Lucas, I'm gonna give you like 1 point, bro. If you just make one new argument, please, I'm gonna give you one. Go ahead. If you have something new to say, like something really new to say.
I mean, in the end of the day, right? It's just that. So, the mother and the baby, like the whole like baby's life that will be, created. These are both higher level consciousnesses, right? We care about their consciousnesses more and their values more because the baby's is, as we agreed, less developed. And in the end of the day, not only is it qualitatively more, like I said before, right? And you never really refuted why we shouldn't care about that, but also in the end of the day, first you say bring up biology.
All right. Yeah. All right.
It's same thing.
Okay. Wait. No. These aren't new arguments. Do you guys want to give conclusions or like what do you want to do?
I think they're good.
Conclusion, bro. Just get
Lucas, wait, hold up. I have one more.
Maybe Lucas, do you?
I have one more thing. I do want to just say that we have no reason to believe. I just want to say one more thing. We have no reason to believe that a human's biology should be valued more than an animal's biology.
What? Yo, you suck, gang!
You're trash. You
Wait. I mean, okay. We can think.
hands back. You're judgment, bro. You're judgment, bro. You're judgment, bro.
By the conscious, like, yourself.
No. You're judgment, bro.
I just want to hate George.
You're judgment, bro.
I'm not. All right, bro. All right, listen. I'm not gonna lie. Deadboy just won.
Why?
Like, why do you sound confused?
Explain the judgment.
All right, one. Okay, yeah. You stopped. Like, I'm not gonna lie. You lost the debate once you like, once you, I guess, hedged off of the initial point, going off of like just the null state that the fetus had, and then just like went on to this qualitative thing. Yeah, at that point, that's not a refutation. His whole stance is just like, this is the thing I valued. He gave the argument for like why he valued it, and then you just said, oh yeah, no, but I'm talking about like some qualitative thing. So like people that have more experiences would valued. You just gave this like arbitrary gauge, and then Deadboy basically said, well, he just hit the reductio of doom. You didn't respond to the reductio, and then you repeated yourself for like an hour and a half.
Okay, hold up. When okay, what do you think about the fact that I'm telling this guy? All right, obviously there's some level of consciousness that we do care about, not just the fact that consciousness is animals. We will eat animals.
Yes, and he's saying that thing is sentience, but like the thing about animals, the distinguishing factor there is just like basic biology. Animals do not have personhood. Just having sentience as a human will give you personhood. So like, because you don't fit these conditions, you cannot have personhood, and these animals do not fulfill these conditions. That's why it's okay
I asked
to
him for the
abort
relevance of personhood.
Oh my God, that's what gives something moral value. That's what he said. That's what personhood is. That's what you guys are arguing over.
I asked for why that's going to be more relevant than the fact, right, of higher levels of consciousness, and he never proved that.
Relevant to the fact of higher levels of consciousness, he hit the reductio for why higher levels of consciousness isn't something that we value, right? We don't value something based on the fact that it has a higher level of consciousness, because this 21-year-old would have higher consciousness than a very small baby. However, we would not value that 21-year-old inherently, or say that they have more moral value. And then you just didn't respond to that. So if we know that there's no gain in moral value based on like some qualitative level, then we can also just gauge like within this whole spectrum of somebody with somebody with sentience, that it doesn't serve as something that like raises probability. And then he could, or not raises probability. I'm sorry, I was stuck on fiction. It's not something that raises moral value. And then also the other thing, Lucas. The main thing, like, and not even like the main thing, like a very big thing that I just like didn't hear a response to. He literally put the burden on you to like try and show this qualitative relevance, and then when you like were tasked with this burden, you just brought up animals. And I'm telling, like, I already gave you the refutation against the animals, and you went circular on the animal thing for like 30 minutes. You just kept repeating yourself about the animals. The animals is what you use to justify some like qualitative scale. Since he refuted the animals raising the qualitative scale, it will then follow that you cannot use this to like raise the qualitative scale. Do you see what I mean?
Wait, how does that make sense? Because at the end of the day, he never actually gave an argument why personhood
We're done.
matters.
We're done.
Fuck this, bro. Fuck this. This doesn't
Wes,
make no sense.
Wes,
Babies
don't you think that like he questioned the biology thing at the end?